How's it going, Andrew?
What's going on, Matt?
Not much good. That's about the best way to sum it up.
Yeah. So, as everyone who's been following Matt's house saga, which has been going on the last... Man, how long has this been going on, Matt?
Okay, well, let's see. The offer in on the house we're living in now in late September.
Yep.
Closed on it towards the end of October. On the same day we closed on this house, we accepted an offer on our old house. So I think that was somewhere around October 20th. And then yesterday, the deal for the sale of the old house, so 12/2, after 2 delays of the closing date, the deal fell through because her financing fell through. So now we're back to square one of trying to sell the old house while living in the new house.
Oof.
And everything that comes with that. So,
I was trying to find a soundbite that I could use when you told the story that went wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, no, that would be totally appropriate. It's been a ride, and hopefully the old one will sell quickly because, nobody really wants to have 2 mortgage payments and 2 electric bills and 2 of everything.
Ugh.
For an extended period of time. So, so hopefully this will resolve itself quickly.
So outside of the house drama, how was hunting and how was Thanksgiving?
Hunting was good. Jeff managed to put down a couple on opening morning. So we got meat in the freezer. Everybody else got skunked, unfortunately, but we had a good time. And there's meat in the freezer. So, we got to split up the fresh cuts, and then all the trim will get turned into sausage on a sausage making day someday this spring, where we'll all get together and make some summer sausage and snack sticks. And
can I come? You've never invited me to your sausage making, but you know how I feel about making sausages.
I know you're a big fan of sausage. I was just going to say we might have to have you come hang out with us while we turn venison and pork into summer sausage.
I've never made sausage by hand, but it's always been a dream of mine to do. So
to link some sausage.
Yep,
it's always been a dream of yours to link some sausage.
I mean, summer sausage is one of my favorite things. So, how could I not want to make it?
I'll have to have you over when we figure out what day we're doing it.
Do people ever make venison kielbasa's?
Yes, actually, venison. It's usually more like venison ring bologna. Kielbasa is same difference.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But it's usually more like a ring bologna than a traditional kielbasa. But there's a whole bunch of different stuff you can make. Like I said, I do a smoked venison andouille.
I was just gonna say andouille would be good too. Yeah. Ooh.
Yep. So we do a bunch of different stuff, but snack sticks and summer sausage are definitely the more challenging ones. We'll probably do some other types of like brosts and stuff, like some Italians or something like that too. We'll see what the trim weighs out to and what we decide we want to make. So that's all conversations to be had.
So what's
Thanksgiving was good.
What's trim? Hold on, what's trim?
Oh, you want to back up? So, like when you're breaking like a carcass down of like whether it be cow, pig, deer, whatever, right? To get to your nice clean steak cuts and roasts and all that, there's always lost meat, right? Like some of your, like, as you're trimming them to make them look nice, that would be your trim, or some of the like more unusable meat, like off the neck bones and stuff like that. That's all your trim. So that's typically what you use to make sausage with.
Oh, no part goes unwasted. Right. Yeah, I guess I always assumed that you would be using like the gross parts for sausage, but it's not even the gross. It's just the parts that aren't the pretty parts of the cut. You're just taking normal meat and removing it because it doesn't fit the cut. I get it.
Right. They might be more fatty, or just like little scraps that you cut off to make it look even and everything and stuff like that. So that would be your trim.
Oh, yum. Cool. Yeah, my Thanksgiving was good. It was dramatic. My son got norovirus. My wife got norovirus. My mom and dad got norovirus. My cousin Becky got norovirus. My uncle got norovirus. My brother got norovirus. His wife got norovirus. My aunt and uncle got norovirus. My cousins got norovirus. So it was basically every day, so like 4 days, 2 people would go down with it, and then it would be gone in 24 hours, and then the next 2 would get hit. I'm calling it the Owenian plague 2024.
Was everybody in the same house at the same time while having it?
So a couple days before Thanksgiving, my uncle had a party for his 70th birthday, and Owen came to that, and that was when he started puking. Like, we didn't know he was sick till then. Well, he puked on me right before he left, but he does that from time to time, and so I didn't think much of it. And so the first wave of people who hit it were people who were at that party before Thanksgiving started. Really, the week kicked off, and then it just continued to spread through basically everybody I know. So a lot of puking.
If everybody was in the same house at the same time, because I can only imagine the workout the restrooms would have gotten.
They didn't all get it simultaneously. It was like 2 at a time. But yeah, I'm the only one who didn't get it. I'm the sole survivor. I don't know how. I'm just maybe I'm immune.
You're gonna pay for it later.
I guess.
Warn you. You'll pay for that later. That'll come back to haunt you.
Cool. I know. I'm scared. I was so scared. I watched so much trauma happen to people, but not me. Everyone said it's the sickest they've ever been in like the last 10 years. That's how bad it was.
That makes for a good Thanksgiving. Just an entertaining one.
Very memorable. Awesome. Well, I'm going to hit the music, and what about us kick this bad boy off?
Sounds good.
Loosen up your ties and roll up your sleeves. It's time for Fellowship with Matt and Andrew. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other Grand Lodge or any appended body.
Cool. Well, so for our listeners, we've all been keeping up with the various sagas that Matt and I have been going through, and Matt and I did some discussing, and we know that December is an especially challenging time. So I have some good and some bad news. The good news is we're going to be having our official first season 2 starting this January. The bad news is that we are going to be taking a month off in December, and I think we're going to start doing that every year because we have started to notice that as the holiday season approaches, it's not only harder for Matt and I to schedule each other, it's hard for us to schedule guests. So everyone's a little busy, so we are going to be going dark for 1 month each year, and then that will be we're going to start doing in Thanksgiving, we're going to start having our season finales. So for you guys listening, this will be our season finale this year, and I think we're going to do a year-end recap.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. I mean, another positive that we should point out to our listeners is they don't have to hear our voices for an entire month.
It's like the gift that keeps on giving. Right? Merry Christmas. Right? But yeah,
Merry Christmas. You don't have to listen to Matt and Andrew.
Yep. But we're not stopping. Nothing's happening like that. We're just going to be taking the next couple of weeks dark. And that gives us a little bit of time to start looking at our idea list, because we keep a running list of ideas, start looking at guests and stuff, and prep for next year. But it's a busy time in December. We got installation season, the holidays. It's a hectic time for not only Masons but for anybody. So on this episode, I wanted to run down. Yep.
It also gives us the opportunity to recharge our podcast batteries and come back to you with excitement and vigor and clear eyes, open hearts.
Yep, exactly. So this year, it was a fun year. I was going to pull up, hold on. So this year-end recap, I keep getting those recaps, on my phone where it's like everyone's doing a year-end recap. Every app has one. Duolingo has a year-end recap. We would have done...
Spotify to drop their... Spotify does that Wrapped every year, and I haven't seen my Wrapped stats yet.
That'll come at the end of the year, right? So
no, I feel like it came in early December last year, but I could be wrong.
So this year we did 44 episodes, and can you guess what our first episode of this year was, man?
First episode of this year,
January 4th, 2024.
January 4th, 2024. I don't remember what we did for that episode, actually.
So that was Be Kind Rewind. It was our review of the MM charge. Doesn't that feel like a decade ago?
That feels like forever ago. That was just the beginning of this year?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God.
Can you guess how many guests that we had this year?
That is a question. See, we did 44 episodes, you said? I'm going to say we had 19 guests.
Let's see here. 15, 16, 17. I'm not counting the annual communication. Too many on that one. I won't be able to figure it out.
Right, yeah.
We had over 25 guests.
What? No way.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
We had multiple guests at a time sometimes. Yep. So, yeah, it's been a really fun year, and it's been awesome. We really pumped up, I think in our first year of doing this, which we'd started in September, so I guess it would have been a half year, right? This would have been our first full calendar year.
Yep. This was our first full calendar year. We only had 3 months or so, a little bit over 3 months under our belt in that when we first started.
We started 2 weeks before October. So, basically a little over 3 months. We had only done a couple of guests in our first run at it, you know what I mean? And, we really pumped it out. I mean, we're at, what's this episode going to be? We're going to be at episode 62. Episode
62. That's crazy. And, I mean, we're quickly approaching 5,000 downloads. I know that. We've been... Yeah, we caught a little bit of fire this year.
Well, and what I'm realizing right now is when we do next year's season finale, it'll be probably around our 100th episode, if the math serves.
That's perfect.
So we might have to really go nuts on that.
It might be a little bit after, but somewhere around there, yeah.
So, it's been 44 episodes this year. It's been a fun run. What would you say your favorite episode was this year?
Ooh, that's a toss-up for me. It's either between... And this is going to sound terrible because they're both episodes you weren't on. But
oh, boy.
It's either the Turkey Camp episode or Cave Degree.
Yeah. What did you like the most about those?
I just thought it really, like Turkey Camp just really grabbed fellowship outside of the lodge. And we had some fun conversations and we were being kind of goofy and it was a lot of fun. And I feel like the Cave one was first real run at talking to people from out of state and really getting a lot of different voices on the podcast that weren't necessarily voices people had ever heard of.
Yeah, that's true. I think that my favorite ones were either the Cardinal Virtue episodes.
Ooh, those were good.
I had fun with those. I thought they were interesting. That was one of the ones where I really had to deep dive on actual research to kind of figure out, but it was fun that we were able to discuss it in philosophical but then layman's terms. What does this mean for us as people? I enjoyed that. And I think probably my second favorite would have been when we hopped on and did the podcast Switch Swap with the Third Degree podcast. That was fun too.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really do love those guys from the Third Degree. That's good times. I'm sure you guys will hear more of them popping on our show in the future, hopefully, or at least that's a goal. I have a few ideas, but going back to what you were just saying about the Cardinal Virtues episodes and stuff, and I think that's part of what gives us an interesting dynamic, and this podcast an interesting dynamic, is you kind of like to deep dive the esoterics a lot and stuff, and I'm like, I want to take this thing on the road and go meet people and talk to people and whatever and just go, hey, I'm going to put a mic on you and you're going to be on my show.
Hey, I like to do that too, but it's nice that we can have such a dynamic content where one episode, you could be sitting at a deer camp. The next one you could be talking about, the Regis poem. And then the following one, you're just sitting down with, a brother from somewhere talking about something. I kind of like that. You really don't know what every episode's going to have for you. It's just going to be us trying to scramble to keep it all together, to keep the ship afloat, right?
Right. Right, yeah. We either really like to keep people guessing or we just don't know what we're doing. I haven't decided which one it is yet.
I'm fairly certain it's the latter.
I'm fairly convinced it is as well.
I wouldn't say that we have good planning skills. And it's 24 hours before. What are we doing today? Oh.
I wouldn't say that we don't have good planning skills. I would just say that we are very dedicated to a number of different things. We're very dedicated to our families. We're also very dedicated to our Blue Lodge and hold very important roles in our Blue Lodge. And, sometimes the podcast comes third, fourth, fifth.
Yeah, that's true. I'd like to say that we're that we're chaotically creative. We can't plan our creativity. It has to come out to the last minute.
That's also a good way of describing it. Yes. I've always said I'm chaotically organized. Everything may not be in its proper place, but I know where everything is.
I'm just a big procrastinator, so I like to go to the last minute, then just like panic, get done tons of work. It keeps me on my toes. It gets my heart racing, you know what I mean? What would you say the biggest lesson you learned this year was? Because this was actually, I would argue that this year was our year being what I feel like is a real podcast. Like if you look at those first, 3 months, that would have been like 14 episodes, right? So like in those 14 episodes, I know you went back and re-listened to them. Like you can really hear the difference between that and then the start of this year, which would have been our first big run of truly 44 episodes. This would have been our first, I think, real year of doing it right and doing a lot of content.
So biggest lesson learned, podcasting wise. So I've learned a lot of big lessons. Number one is don't sell a house.
Just live where you live forever. Never
Once
leave.
you buy one, you're stuck. I'm kidding on that one. I just have not had a good experience thus far. My biggest takeaway from the podcast, I think, would be we're at our best when we keep it real and we don't intentionally necessarily try to connect with our listeners. We just be ourselves and do what we do and have the conversations we want to have. And we don't try to censor ourselves or mix our words or tiptoe through the tulips, and we just get down to business and keep it real.
Yeah, and I think we do find a good balance of, I wouldn't say we censor ourselves, but we try to keep it professional, but not too professional. Professionally unprofessional. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. We're your professionally unprofessional Masonic podcast. And maybe censor wasn't the right word for me to use there, but you understood the point I was getting at, obviously,
We try to express ourselves, but still represent ourselves as Masons at the same time and kind of tread that line, be your authentic self, but also, remember we're representing the fraternity. So we find that nice middle ground where we can still have silly and fun conversations, but still be, Masonic about it, too.
Well, and even just keeping it real from the perspective of, we're not, sugarcoating stuff. If we talk about the way we feel about something, we say how we feel about it. We're not that's not really I feel this way, but no, this is how I feel about it, and that's gonna be what it is. You can like it or dislike it, but this is my opinion on it, and we keep it real with people. This is who we are. I'm very open-minded. My opinions are always up for challenge and debate, and if you prove me wrong, I'll change my opinion. But I feel like we keep it real with people. We're not trying to I don't know what the right word is. I lost myself there. See, there we go. There's a moment of keeping it real. Yeah. I lost it.
And I think it's a good example how, as brethren, I think it's Pat Choka who always likes to say we're necessarily different, or there's necessary difference. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
We're different by necessity as Masons. We have to be different because we're an organization of good men with all different types of ideas and beliefs and backgrounds and all that stuff. So by necessity, we are different and we do have different opinions. But I think that we show a good example of how you can have different opinions, but still, dwell in harmony and all that good stuff. So it's you have to keep it real, because if you're not being your authentic self, you're not necessarily going to be a good brother, because they don't know who you are. And you still need to find a way to be yourself, but also to maintain harmony at the same time.
Right. I feel like in the beginning, and maybe this didn't go for you, I felt like in the beginning I was trying to find, let's call it my podcast personality, right? Trying to find my podcast voice. This is Podcast Matt.
Whoa! And, welcome back to Podcast Matt. Let's get after
it. And after a while, I was just like, wait, why isn't Podcast Matt just the same as Matt, maybe with less curse words? But
yeah, right.
why isn't Podcast Matt just Matt, you know? And I think once I fell into that groove and I wasn't trying to be like a personality on the podcast versus being myself, I got a lot more comfortable and we started doing better.
Yep. I think that our version of our podcast selves is, I think it does still exist. It's just lighter. It's basically your exact self, just with a little more pepped up. So like you basically just make sure you're your same self, but slightly more engaged with the conversation, and then that's just the way it goes. Because like you always have to find, you know, if you're doing a non-podcast conversation, you might be tuning in and out. You might, you know, you have to kind of be yourself, but just with a little bit more, you're more engaged with the conversation because it's necessary, because we have to keep filling time. I mean, we filled 24 minutes so far and we still got to fill time. So you always have to make sure you're not, you're kind of paying attention, right? So it's kind of similar. But yeah, I mean, it felt like in the first couple of episodes, it was definitely like, oh, whoa, we're here on a podcast. Let's do characters.
Right.
I mean, I still do characters sometimes, voices, but I do that in real life too. So it's not, you can't name me as not.
That you do. I can attest for anybody that may listen that has not like met or had an actual conversation with Andrew. What you get on the podcast is what it's like really talking.
Maybe worse.
What was your biggest lesson?
I think that my biggest lesson was how challenging it is to have a podcast. And make sure that we have enough content always, like, because you feel like you create a long list of things to talk about and guess, but how quickly those evaporate if you kind of sit back on your heels and say, yeah, we don't have to, you know, the list is continuously has to be growing as well as depleting. And so it's been like a challenge to remember to be like, when I'm reading an article in the journal or I'm reading something, if something sticks out, I go, ooh, that'd be an interesting episode, to immediately go to my phone and jot it down on the list just to fill it with stuff, because you never know you're going to want to pull from that list or pull randomly. You need to kind of keep yourself sharp on Masonry. Like I have to read Masonic stuff to keep myself in the mindset to go, if I were to, you know, Matt and I don't have something picked out, we need to pick something on the fly. I need to have my mind during the rest of the week on Masonry to make sure that I can have something to speak. Oh, you know what? I would talk about this or that or the other thing.
Right. Well, and you touch on something interesting there. I mean, before we started doing this, Masonry was on my mind quite a bit, as it was, you know, like I always thought about Masonry, or like, you know, if I did something or I was about to do something or whatever, like, or, you know, I had a tough decision to make, it was kind of like, all right, what working tool can I apply here? You know, whatever, you know, just going through day-to-day life. But like having the podcast and coming up with content and doing all that kind of stuff definitely makes me think about Masonry more.
And you learn from the conversations
think that's a
too.
Bad thing.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's like, and then in the day-to-day Masonry too, you're not always thinking about Masonry. Sometimes you're stuck thinking about lodge administration stuff where you're like, oh, I got to get sausages this week. I got to go over here. So you're thinking about things that you do as a Mason, but you're not thinking about Masonry. You're thinking of an aspect of it. So it's nice that in the podcast, you start to think about why are these things that seem mundane kind of have Masonic value? Like, what is the deal here? And through some of those conversations, you start to learn, like, yeah, you're not just going to get wieners to feed your brothers. You're going to nourish the lodge with a great meal, a great hot meal. And there's something important with that helps build people, and it bonds you to your stewards, and it bonds you to the other officers and to your brethren. And so you start to, through those conversations, see, you know, how Masonry intermingles with everything, you know, surrounding it too.
Well, I mean, cooking for your brothers really is an act of brotherly love at the end of the day. So, which I know we've talked about before, but so we won't dwell on that, but yeah.
But you know what I mean? Is through these conversations, you start to think more deeply about the Masonic lifestyle. And that's even with talking with brothers and their different Masonic experiences. You start to see how Masonry affects people and how it influences people and all that good stuff, which helps you notice what's happening to you too.
Right. And I agree. And I definitely agree on the, sometimes we get caught up in the lodge administration aspect of it, especially, for you and I with, you're a warden of the lodge. I was just worshipful master this year, which if anybody could see the video that we're on right now, my beard is a lot more gray than it was in the picture we took.
There's noticeable gray hairs. It also is way more scraggly. You gonna trim that up before installation or what?
Yeah, actually, I have an appointment the day before installation to kind of get it cleaned up a little bit.
You gonna get it dyed?
It's been getting a little out of control lately. Yeah, no, it's not getting dyed. I'm owning these grays, man. I've aged the same way the president ages in his 4 years in office. It looks like I got put through the ringer.
Just in one. Let it be known, being the master of your lodge is more hard than being the president for 4 years, doing a lodge tour in the East for 1 year.
I don't know that I would compare the two of them, but it is quite the task. If you take it seriously and you do the job and you have a busy, active lodge, it is quite the task.
Oh, yeah. I guess then the last thing I'd want to talk about is, what do you think our plan should be for season 2?
Well, I definitely want to get guests back on the show more often, like we were doing really well with at the beginning of this year. I feel like we have a lot of people we could have interesting conversations with. I have what I think is a brilliant idea for a Veterans Day episode next year. Yeah, there's a couple of brothers I would like to get together on the podcast to talk, military and Freemasonry type stuff. And then I would really like to see us do a Star Wars and Freemasonry episode for May the 4th this year. Because we talked about it for this last year, but we forgot to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Always season 2. I think that what I want to see in season 2 is a lot of the same type of style we've been doing, some education, some guests. I do want to continue to reach out to other Masonic podcasts and see if we can do some dynamic content with them. I think those episodes are super fun, not only just because it's fun talking to other podcasters because they're all good at talking on mics, but it's also fun to talk to Masons from out of the state. So I'd like us to interject a couple, like we have been, Masons from other jurisdictions. I think is fun. I still want the core of our content to be Wisconsin Masons, but I would like a couple of sprinkled in from around the state or even around the world. I would love to get guests from other countries too.
Right.
I also really want to try for next year to get, this might be challenging, but I got some information from a brother, some of the brethren from the local Prince Hall lodges. I'd like to see if we can get maybe one of them on next year too. I think that'd be really fun.
That would be really cool. I feel like that could be a very interesting episode. And I mean, as far as reaching out to the other Masonic podcasts, I know we've done it with a few. I've been on that other Masonic podcast. We've had the guys from the Third Degree on ours. We've been on the guys from the Third Degrees podcast. There's a few people I'd like to reach out to try to get them on our podcast. I know we will have at least one, if not both, of the hosts of that other Masonic podcast. We'll probably see the guys from the Third Degree again. At least one of the guys from At Refreshment. We've already been in touch with them, which is another great podcast. And then, if we could get like one of the guys from Craftcast over in the UK, that would be awesome. And I would honestly, one of my favorite Masonic podcast that's out there is The Traveling Man by Jim Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to have Jim Hall on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think now that we have started to, one, understand this technology, like the last 2 episodes we've done have been via the computer, which, I mean, who knew that we could talk through the interwebs, am I right? But so, now that we kind of figured that out, it really opens up our ability not only to get brothers on around the state, because not everyone lives in, the Milwaukee area.
Right.
So like that opens us up to be able to start to reach out to, lots of interesting brothers. And I think we're going to definitely start doing that going into season 2.
Well, and, I know we've had trouble scheduling and getting together in person lately to do these, but out of those difficulties, an opportunity has been born in the fact that, I can't even say we've managed to figure out the technology. You've managed to figure out the technology because you're the tech guy and how we can make this work and how we can best make it work. And I think that's going to open a lot of doors for us in the future. So our scheduling difficulties and us even, only being 30 minutes away from each other has caused us to grow and learn and hopefully be able to pursue some of these things that maybe had been out of reach previously that now we know how to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, and we're always learning. You know what we should, okay, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't speak about this on the air. Should we do a 100th episode party at Lodge where we invite all of our favorite guests and we set up a table and do rapid fire interviews and have like a celebratory
all of our
evening?
Favorite guests?
All of our guests, yes. Every guest that we have is our favorite. So, invite our guests and people who are fans of the show to come to a party. I feel like that could be fun. We could do like champagne toasts.
Cool. That could be kind of cool. I think that, we're about to take like almost a month off. We have 38 episodes to go after that. So we have time to figure it out.
So maybe something coming from season 2. If you're a listener, definitely let us know if that'd be something you'd be interested in. You can always reach us at timeforfellowship@gmail.com. But yeah, so there's a lot of big stuff coming next year. And yeah, I'm very excited.
Something else I would like to do next year?
What?
I would love to get one or both of our wives on the podcast.
You'd be a hard sell on my end, but maybe we can get Olivia to come on.
I'm almost positive I could get Olivia to do it. If we could get Claire, that would be great as well, because I think it'd be really fun to talk to them about what changes seen in us since we became Masons, or how
they'd be like, you're busy all the time.
Right. Or how Masonry's impacted our family lives, or I think it'd be really fun to venture down that road of conversation with them, or what it feels like to be a Masonic widow.
Playing with fire with that one. I feel like we're playing with fire.
I think it could be an interesting episode, honestly.
Yeah, we can keep it in mind. We should put it on the ideas list. But yeah, I think we have a lot of good ideas going into next year. And then with this time off, even though we're off the podcast, Matt and I still see each other all the time at Lodge. So we'll be brainstorming ideas for next year during our break. And yeah, I'm excited for season 2.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I'm excited that we've made it to 62 episodes. Honestly, I know you weren't really a big numbers guy, and you still aren't in the beginning, and I've gotten better about not being a numbers guy. But in the beginning, I was starting to wonder, all right, at what point are we going to call this? What point are we going to say, all right, this isn't working? And, it's working. So, yeah, you guys are going to have to put up with us for a while.
Cool. Well, I think that's a good year-end recap and a good teaser for season 2. But yeah, any final words for our listeners before we move to news and events?
Yeah, I have 10 days left as Worshipful Master. And since we are not going to be doing an episode the day after installation or something like that, where I can finally go, I'm done. Let me tell you, I just want to say, I know I've made a lot of comments about how exhausting and how much work it is over the course of this year on the podcast. And it is. It really is. But I wouldn't have changed anything about it or done any less work or exhausted myself any less. It was truly an honor to be able to serve as Worshipful Master of Lake Lodge this year. And I really, as tired as I am coming out of it, I really enjoyed my time in the East. And if it's something you've ever even thought about doing and you've been it just seems like so much work, it is some of the most rewarding stuff you will ever do. So don't shy away from it. Grab the bull by the horns and go for it.
And that's why you're doing it again.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. I got 3 years before I'm there again. Plenty of time to reset.
Yep. I guess my parting words to our listeners would be that it's been an awesome ride this year. I'm very much looking forward to next year. Thank you guys all so much for taking part with us on this journey. Thank you to all of our guests who've come on and put themselves out there on a podcast with two knuckleheads who they don't know what's going to happen and taking a risk and having some fun with some good fellowship with some fun brothers that we've seen from all over. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to next season and see y'all season 2. Cool.
Yeah, ditto to all of what Andrew just said.
Ditto. All right, let's move on to news and events.
And it's time for news and events. So going on in Wisconsin right now, the brothers from James Hayes Lodge put together this awesome thing in District 12 where they wanted to do a challenge for all the lodges in District 12 to collect toys or money for Toys for Tots, which we're all familiar with the Marine Corps' Toys for Tots program. Been around a long time. It's a pretty awesome program. So they kind of took the lead on this and challenged all the other lodges in the district to collect as many dollars or toys as they could. And the winning lodge at the end of the year, which they do not qualify to be one of the winning lodge, or the winning lodge, is going to get a trophy that will be a traveling trophy, as well as a smaller version of the trophy to keep at their lodge, saying that they won that year.
And they're homemade too.
Right. Yep. They are homemade by brother Carl Kleppe, who also kind of took the lead on this for them. He's their senior deacon. He's been really amazing with this. And the Hayes boys will also cook dinner for your lodge if you win. So this Friday, December 6th at 4 p.m., they will be, and whoever else from District 12 would like to attend, they will be at the Marine Corps Reserve Center at 4 p.m. presenting over 1,100 toys and $1,000 to Toys for Tots. I mean, this in its first year and in its infancy, it's had an amazing response, and I really truly hope this keeps going because this has been awesome.
I think I was talking with some of the guys from Hayes about this a little bit. I think this will definitely be a charity drive that grows, because during the first year they were just getting the word out, trying to get collections, right? And then now people will be expecting it in following years, and I think that we'll definitely see an increase in donations year over year, and I definitely think it's awesome.
Yeah, no, this has been great work by them. I'm truly impressed. It was a brilliant idea, and I do also hope it continues to grow.
All right, cool. Let's move on to some events. So we're going to go through a bunch of events because we're not going to talk to you guys until January. So we're going to hit some quick events here so you guys know what's going on in the coming month and a half or so. So on December 7th, District 7 is having a joint installation of officers at the Wisconsin Masonic Center. It's going to be at 3:30 p.m. There's going to be a banquet and educational program. And so this joint installation will be at 3 p.m. Well, the installation of officers itself starts at 3:30. So there will actually be a banquet and ceremony afterwards downstairs at the Wisconsin Masonic Center. It's $20 for adults, $12 for kids. If you'd like more information, please reach out to... doesn't say.
What was the date on that one again, Andrew?
It's going to be December 7th.
Okay. Also on December 7th, Waukesha Lodge is having a breakfast with Santa. I believe it begins at 8 a.m. $5 donation is encouraged. And I know myself and Olivia and the little one will be there.
Cool. On December 9th, Bicknell Lodge number 94 is doing their public installation of officers at 6 p.m. That's going to be at Broadhead Masonic Center. Prep for more installations. We got a bunch coming up here. On December 11th, District 2 is doing a joint installation of officers at the Eau Claire Masonic Center. It's going to be at 6:30 p.m. There's going to be a meal, and installation will then be at 7:30 p.m. Coming up on the 14th, this is a hot day for installations. We at Lake Lodge are having our installation of officers at Lake Masonic Center on the 14th of December. It's going to be start at 1 p.m. We're going to do a full installation, and then we will be going out afterwards for a refreshments and food at Ginger's Irish Pub. On the 14th as well of December, Oregon Lodge number 151 is doing an open installation of officers. It's going to start at 11 a.m., and then there'll be a lunch following. Also, hold on, you can do it after this 14th. Also, on the 14th of December, Ozaki Lodge number 17 is doing their family Christmas. I guess not installation, I just assumed. They're doing their family Christmas. It's going to be at 8, from 8 to 8:45 a.m. There'll be gift for the kids and 12 and under. Reservations should already be in. Well, they're due tomorrow, but I bet you if you hear this podcast and you reach out to Rick Schroeder, he might be willing, but definitely something to look forward to. And Matt, you have one?
Yep. Also, on December 14th, Watoma 148 and Quincy Adams number 71 are having a combined installation of officers from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. with a lunch afterwards at the Watoma Lodge.
Cool. Lots of installations. Speaking of installations, moving on to December 15th, the Jefferson County Lodge number 9 is doing their public installation of officers at 1 p.m. Also on December 17th, Milton Lodge number 161 is doing their public installation of officers at 6 p.m. and the meal's at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. is the installation. On December 19th, North Star Lodge number 187 is having a roast beef dinner. It's going to start at 5 p.m. until gone. And that's going to be in Star Prairie. On December 18th, Morningstar Lodge number 10 in Beloit is having their public installation of officers at 7 p.m. On December 20th, Chautauqua Lodge is having their flannel and fellowship event. It's going to be from 4 to 7 p.m. It says fire away. I don't know what that means. I hope that's not like a shotgun start, am I right? I don't know what fire away is, but it might be a place, it might be a thing, who knows? They have appetizers in the cash bar. You need to RSVP if you're interested by December 11th. So for more information on flannel and fellowship, reach out to Chautauqua Lodge. On December 21st, Lake Lodge 189 is having our breakfast with Santa. It's going to be from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and it is free and open to the public. So we make a lot of pancakes. Santa will be there. You can just show up. There's no RSVP needed. You just come on down. It's going to be on the 21st. It's a long day for us officers, but a really, really fun time. It's very Christmassy, and I highly recommend you come by. Also, on December 21st, Twin Cities Lodge number 61 is doing their installation of officers. It's going to be at 5 p.m. with dinner following. If you're interested, please RSVP with Brother Adam Knapp.
Matt, can I take the last one, please?
Yes, you can.
All right. On January 23rd, Lake Lodge 189 presents their annual, I don't know for how many years now, but a long time.
It's like 23rd.
Robert Burns, 23rd at least. Their annual Robert Burns Table Lodge. Starts at 6 p.m. A bunch of ceremonial toasts, some raffles, 50-50. You get Most Worshipful Don Henziak's famous haggis. Most Worshipful Dave Ritchie will be our guest speaker. It is $35 per Mason. This is only open to Masons, EA and above. Reservations are due January 13th, and you can send checks to the Lake Masonic Center. You can find that address online, or you can reach out to one of the officers at Lake Lodge if you would like to arrange a different way to pay.
Yep, and if you can't find an officer's email, you can email us at timeforfellowship@gmail.com, and we can pass you along to someone who can help you up.
Or we can help you ourselves.
Yep, probably one or the other. And we missed one event. On January 14th, the grand chapter of the OES, Order of the Eastern Star, is having their all-state holiday party. It's going to be at the Beja Shrine in Green Bay. All are invited to attend. For more information, please reach out to the Grand Secretary of the OES. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will see y'all next year. Take care.
We'll see you in 2025. Take care.